Morning, boys and girls. I hope that you guys had a great weekend. We're starting today with Monday, April 27th. And just keep in mind that your packet is due on Friday and you also have an assignment for Friday. So make sure that you are finished with your packet by Thursday or by Friday morning before you turn in your packet for the day. And the only day to turn that in will be May 1st, and you will also receive your next packet. So just keep that in mind as you're working throughout the week. Pick a day that you maybe get a little bit ahead, and so that way you can be done by Thursday or at the latest Friday morning, so you can turn in your packet on May 1st. All right, guys, let's get started. So your learning tasks for the day are to complete the April 27th activities in your packet, complete the suffix activity, read independently or your independent reading book for 30 minutes. This can be a story from your Journeys textbook, and complete your reading log. Okay, so before we get started on the packet, I want to go ahead and read your vocabulary words to you and get you familiar with those. These are the vocabulary words for your next story, which is climbing Mount Everest. Okay, so the first word is climbers approached this mountain from the west. Slowly, they got nearer to it. We'll zoom in just a little bit on those. Okay, so your vocabulary word is approach. Now let's think about, what does approach mean? When you approach something, you get closer to it. And also here it does say, as a context clue, the sentence after it says slowly they got nearer to it. So as you get closer, you approach something. Number 2 is section. The top section or part of this mountain is the steepest. And of course here, you know, section means a part of something because it has a comma or part and another comma to show you that that's actually what that word means. Number 3 is avalanches. When avalanches occur, the powerful sliding snow can knock down trees. Avalanches would be another type of a landslide, except instead of mud or dirt, it would be a lot of falling snow. Number 4, increases. When storms blow in, the danger to climbers increases or becomes greater. And of course, you know, increases means to become greater. This is also a math word that we use a lot. So when something increases, it becomes greater or it goes up. Okay, equipment. Mountain climbers check their supplies or equipment before a climb. So we know equipment must mean what? Yes, supplies. So all the materials or supplies needed would be the equipment. Number 6, tanks. Tanks that hold oxygen help climbers breathe in the high, thin air. How are we going to figure out what tanks are? Well, we know that they hold oxygen, so it has to be some type of a container. And if you use the illustration here, you can also see this gentleman here is working with some type of a tank here, or a container that would hold oxygen. You see he's got a tube that goes to that tank. And of course, that the other end of that tube would actually go into the climber's mouth to allow them to get the oxygen or the air that they need. Okay, slopes, gentle slopes near the bottom of the mountain are easiest to climb. We know slopes must be a type of a hill. Okay, altitude, the altitude or height of Granite Peak in Montana is 12,799 feet high. So altitude is height, or how high something goes up. Succeed. Everyone's goal is to reach the summit. If climbers plan well, then they will succeed. Or what does that mean? What's another word that would mean the same as to succeed? We know that if you reach your goal, you are succeeding. So that must mean that you are accomplishing your goal. Okay. Halt. Climbers come to a halt when it gets dark. They stop for the night. Of course, if we read the next sentence, that second sentence tells us what halt means. What does halt mean? Yes, stop. That's right. Okay. All right, so let's go back to, actually, let's go, I'm going to go ahead and read the author's page, meet the author. Okay. Michael Sandler is his name. Michael Sandler enjoys extreme adventures. He loves to travel and has been to the foothills of Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Boys and girls, I'm seeing so many words that we have seen and learned in our reading across subject areas. Where have we seen that word before? Foothills. This reminds me of South Carolina history. It reminds me of the Piedmont being the foothills of the Blue Ridge. So I hope that you all are very familiar with that and remember that word. He loves to travel and has been to the foothills of Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Several years ago, while touring Africa, he got lost in the Sahara, the world's largest desert. That adventure might have helped him later to write Deserts Surviving in the Sahara. Other extreme books by Sandler include Ocean, Surviving in the Deep Sea, and Rainforest, Surviving in the Amazon. Boys and girls, after you read this exciting story, you'll probably want to go back and read these other books that this author has written. I know I do already. This is a fantastic nonfiction story. Okay, so let's go back to our packet. Okay, and the first thing you have to do for April 27th is to answer this question. It says, based upon Meet the Author on page 300, the title and the illustrations within the text, what can you predict Mountains Surviving on Mount Everest is about? And I'm sorry, boys and girls, I think earlier I said surviving on Mount Everest, but Mountains Surviving on Mount Everest is the title. Okay. All right, so I wrote a sample answer here. Yours does not have to, you do not have to copy mine. It does not have to look exactly like mine, but I wanted to remind you that your answers need to be written in complete sentences. You guys are almost fourth graders now, and we've got to make sure that we're flipping our questions and using part of the questions in our answer to make sure that we have those beautiful complete sentences. So one example answer or a sample answer that I have here is based on the title and illustrations. I can tell, excuse me, I can tell that surviving on Mount Everest is going to be about what happens when someone tries to climb Mount Everest. There's many other possible answers as long as it makes sense. Please do not write, I can tell that it's going to be about Mount Everest. Obviously, we know it's going to be about Mount Everest, boys and girls. That's in the title. Don't just recopy the title or recopy one word in the title, but extend it and put some more of your own ideas in there. You could also say, I can imagine that it would be very hard to survive Mount Everest. So I'm going to learn about what or how someone else actually climbs Mount Everest and makes and lives to tell about it. You know, just extend your answer a little bit more and tell about your own ideas. Another way you could start off would be, I predict that this informational text will tell me, or I predict that I will learn about so-and-so. So just make sure that you answer that with your own complete thoughts. Okay. And then for number 3 here, your word work, you have suffixes NES, ABLE, and LESS. And boys and girls, we have done a lot of prefix and suffix work this year, so I'm sure that you're very familiar with a lot of these. Okay, so for number 3, sort the words in the chart and highlight the suffixes in each word. Okay, so I just did a couple of these for you. Let's move on down here to what does each suffix mean. I hope that you remember that less means without. I also put none or not for those because sometimes they can have some other similar meanings like none or not. Those are all negative words, of course, but basically it means without. Ness is actually a suffix that doesn't have a specific meaning, but it's used to turn an adjective into a noun. And I wanted to give you an example of that. So here I wrote, my sister is friendly. So how would we describe sister? We would describe the sister as being friendly. Friendly is an adjective. But I could flip that around, and if I wanted to actually refer to her being friendly and how that makes her a joy to be around, then I would turn that adjective into a noun and say her friendliness makes her a joy to be around. So I wanted you to see, boys and girls, how adding any SS actually changes the state or condition of that word so that it can be used in a different way. It still basically means the same thing. It's just used in a different part of the sentence. So what makes her a joy to be around? Her friendliness. So now friendliness is being used as a noun. Okay? And then able, of course, means able to, or basically can be done. Let me add that in there if it will let me. Or capable of. Okay. All right, so I just did the first 3 up here, painless, and of course that would mean without pain, and I believe that was one of our vocabulary words this year. So less means without. So if I get a shot and it was painless, that means that it did not cause me any pain. There was basically no pain involved. Okay, and then washable, of course, we'll go over here in this column. If my shirt is washable, then that means it's capable of being washed. I can actually put it in the washing machine and wash it. Okay, so if something is able, if something is enabled, then that means it can be done or capable of. So think about all the things in our house that are washable. There's a lot of stuff that we can wash. Okay, and then sadness. If I feel sad, sad is an adjective. I'm using that word to describe how I feel. But I could turn that around, and if I add any SS to it and I say sadness has just taken over me, then sadness becomes the subject of my sentences and is being used as a noun. So sadness is not a good thing. Okay. Sad would change to sadness if I want to change how I use it in the sentence. Okay. All right, boys and girls, so you're going to do that with all of these words up here, and you'll notice I put a check mark beside the ones that I already sorted. Okay, moving on down. Of course, you will write the name of your book, the pages that you read, and look for a word in your independent reading that contains one of the suffixes above. So you're going to look for a word, boys and girls, in your reading that ends in able, ness, or less. You're going to write the word here. You're going to write the suffix it contained, just the suffix, and then what did the word mean with the suffix. Now remember, all prefixes and suffixes are added to root words or base words to change the meaning somehow. So that's what you're looking for. Okay, and that's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and stop. Tune in next time for April 27th. Have a great week, guys.